Okay, hey everybody, I'm Chris, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to achieve a classic Marshall JCM 800 style sound, those 80s rock sound using just 3 guitar plugins, 3 VST plugins. Now, there are plenty of tutorials on the net that show you how to achieve this sound using either paid plugins or very expensive stuff like XFX, for instance, or Kemper. And many of you guys who are at the beginning of your guitar journey and don't really have that much money to spend, you most likely would like to get this kind of sound using free stuff, and you'd like to achieve a very satisfying, very good result. And I'm going to show you how to do this today. I'm going to be using my Fender Strat with Seymour Duncan hot rails and in the neck and bridge, and a Seymour Duncan SSL1 single coil in the middle. And I've also got coil splitting, so I can show you how it sounds both with humbucker and single coil style sounds. Okay, so I've got my Reaper window open over here, and before I go through all the plugins, let me just show you how it sounds. So the entire setup does the Marshall 80s rock sound very, very good. Okay, so let me show you through what I've got here. In the center, in the heart of the entire setup is this JCM 800 preamp simulation from Mercurial. We've got the power amp section simulation, which is done by TPA1 from Ignite Amps. We've got the impulse loader, which simulates the speaker of the guitar, also from Ignite Amps. This is NadIR, NadIR, and I'm using greenback impulse responses. And greenbacks are just, at least to me, the most associated speakers with this 80s Marshall rock sound. And the impulse responses I'm using are from Redwires. Those are available for free, just as all the plugins that you can see in the entire list. I will leave the links to all the plugins in the description below for you to download. And for some more color, I've got this Tube Screamer plugin TSC from Mercurial, and some reverb to add a little bit of ambience to the sound. And that's TAL Reverb from TAL software. Okay, so let's play around with the preamp first. I'm going to disable the Tube Screamer for now. So let's hear how it sounds without the Tube Screamer. Okay, so let's play with the settings available in this window. There are the basic controls for your preamp, which are gain, treble, middle, bass, the input from your guitar, and the output volume. We've got also an option to choose between 2 different sets of preamp tubes, and this one is what you've heard, and the other one, as you can probably hear, has a little bit more bass and a little bit more bottom compared to the other one. And we've got also an option of oversampling, which is what oversampling does. It's output a wider, more rich sound and kind of compresses it down to what your sound can process. So it basically gives you more quality of the sound if your computer, if your CPU can handle it. And if you've got trouble, I recommend setting it to ×2 and ×4 if your computer, if your CPU can handle it. Otherwise, just disable it, because it makes the sound a bit better, but also is a bit taxing on your CPU. Okay, so let's play with the settings a little bit. Let's decrease the gain a little bit. Let's clean up the sound. Some people say that Marshall amps don't really do clean sounds very good, and I don't think so. To me, this sounds very, very cool. Let's hear how it sounds with more sing-coily style sounds. Okay, let's go back to humbucker sounds and increase the gain a little bit. Let's play it with the EQ settings a little bit. Let's add more treble. And immediately you can hear that it gets more pokey, more spiky. Let's maybe decrease the treble a little bit. Okay, now I like it a little bit. Now I like it a little bit more. With a bit less treble. Let's add some more middle. Okay. And let's play with bass a little bit. Okay, so that's the JCM 800 preamp simulation. Now let's go to the power amp simulation section. And the controls that you have over here are your typical power amp controls, which include depth, presence, volume. And there's the other side over here. We've got bias, which simulates the signal bias of your output power amp tubes and can give you a bit more or less distortion. There's the power amp sagging. We've got 3 different power tube simulation available. We've got EL34s, which is the classic Marshall sound, EL6L6, sorry, which is more associated with like Fender Mesa, the American sound, and KT88. And we've got the input level, feedback, resonance, and the output level. So let's play with those settings a little bit. I'm going to increase volume to add a little bit more power amp distortion. But at the same time, I need to decrease the output so that Reaper doesn't go overboard with the sound. Let's play around. I'm going to decrease the output a little bit because it's almost on the verge of distorting. Okay, let's play around with bias and see how it affects the sound. Resonance is what gives you a little bit less or more bottom end from the power amp. As you can hear, when I increase the resonance, there's less bottom end. Okay, so there's the power amp simulation. Let's go to the impulse loader and see how it sounds with some different speaker impulses. By the way, the list that you see over here are different mic settings of the when the impulses were recorded. So this kind of simulates the situation where you've got the mic in front of the speaker cap set in different positions. And this, as you can hear, affects the sound quite a bit. And also, as you can see, I've got two different mic settings, two different impulse responses blended together to add some more variety to the sound. And by blending two impulse responses together, you can shape the sound, you can play around with it to achieve what you like. I recommend you to experiment with it yourself. In the pack that I'm going to show you, I'm going to link in the description, there's a bunch of impulses with different mics, different quality settings. So basically just play around with it, see what fits your sound the best. Okay, let's add the Tube Screamer back to the sound. And this is what gives the most distortion, the most hair, the most rock, let's say, to the entire sound. And all of these combined together give us the final result, which is really this 80s classic Marshall sound, which I really, really, really love. Okay, let's play around with the Tube Screamer a little bit. I'm going to decrease the gain on the amp and play around with the Tube Screamer a little bit. Let's maybe set all the knobs to 12 o'clock. By the way, what I like to do with a Tube Screamer is to decrease the gain on the amp so that we've got basically a little bit of crunch, but basically a clean sound, but to increase the drive and level on the Tube Screamer, go to the neck pickup, go to the single coil sound, and what you get from this is kind of Hendrixy driven Marshall sound. We can even add some bit more drive to it. Okay. Let's go back to the sound without the Tube Screamer and see how it compares. Okay. And there's this option of switching between the classic 808, so the original Tube Screamer, and a modded version, which kind of has less gain to it. Okay, let's go back to the humbucker. There's a bit of a difference, not much, but when I decrease the drive and go back to the preamp, increase the gain on this a little bit, you can hear the difference a little bit more. So let's go back to the original 808. So as you can see, the modded version has much less gain when the drive is set to 0 and the level is at full. Okay, and for the final portion, let's see. Let's check out the reverb plugin. So first off, let's disable it and compare the sound. So it's very dry, very basic. And reverb adds this a little bit of ambience that makes the sound really, really cool. So let's give it a bit more signal. Okay, this is getting a bit extreme, but depending on what you want to achieve. You can give it some delay. As you can hear, there's this slight delay, like half a second now, between when you pick the string on the guitar and you hear the reverb itself. You've got also the option to cut the high frequencies and low frequencies in the reverb sound. So as you can hear, the final reverb sound doesn't really have that much treble right now. And the same with bass. As you can hear right now, I've got the reverb sound, which is basically just the upper frequencies, just the treble. And there's the bass back. And here we've got the option to increase the amount of signal that goes after the reverb. That's a bit extreme. Let's go back to like 30%. This kind of reminds me of the sound that Stone Gossard had on the very first Pearl Jam album on 10. Okay, and for a final touch, let's maybe add one more thing. Let's add some chorus. I wrote this plugin, which is BlueCat's chorus. I'm going to link it also in the description. And immediately you get this 80s rocky metally sound. Let's play around with the settings a little bit. Oh god, you can really get those alien-y sounds this way. Let's add some more gain on the preamp. Kind of reminds me of sounds of bands like Dokken, for instance, who had a lot of chorus in their sound. Okay, so there's that. So let me know in the comments below if you liked it or not, if you would like more tutorials like this. All the links to the plugins, to the impulse responses will be in the description below. And I will see you soon in the next video. See ya!